Aditya, I'm so glad that you brought up this issue of sanctions and of the new administration in Japan because Japan's previous Prime Minister Shinzo Abe apparently visited Russia 11 times and made a serious effort towards strengthening the ties between the two countries. The sanctions he imposed after the annexation of Crimea in 2014 were fairly nominal, were actually, in a sense, seem to have been designed to not really have any effect on the Russians. So he did this, of course, at the cost of, irritating the Americans. But Shinzo Abe was so clearly committed to strengthening those ties. Does the new administration in Japan share those priorities? Or have Russia-Japan ties been sort of downgraded in importance under Prime Minister Suga?
Well, I think Russia being the immediate neighbor of Japan is something that the Japanese can't really overlook. I mean, the US is an ocean away, even though they have a very strong relationship. They have a huge security cooperation going on since the Second World War. But still, Japan really has to keep its house in order and its neighborhood in order. So the relationship with the Russians is quite important to be downgraded. I would say it can't really be downgraded ever. That's not going to happen. The US is a factor in that relationship, but not primarily, I would say, because we wouldn't see the kind of cooperation that we saw under Prime Minister Abe's prime ministership and now the new Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga's. So I would say the previous Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's main contribution to the relationship was an 8-point economic cooperation plan in 2016, which he presented to President Putin. The main purpose behind this initiative was to soften the Russian public opinion on returning Kurils. So some analysts believe that this calculation is supposed to be emerging from the leverage, the political leverage that the Japanese side can gain by offering this economic cooperation. And in return, they would receive the softening of Russian public opinion on returning the Kurils, the 4 islands in the chain that Japan is concerned with.
Yeah, we've seen some movement, certainly from the Russians, about a possible deal on the Kuril Islands. But what are some of the recent developments over there? Is a deal still on the cards, or has the situation really changed?
The deal is definitely still on the cards. At least that has been the impression that both sides have given. I mean, they put out statements that we don't want to leave this issue for future generations and we'd rather solve it now. In reply to your question that Prime Minister Suga, what has his approach been since he took over? So I don't think there has been a major departure from what Prime Minister Abe was doing, that economic cooperation would lead the way for the eventual return of the islands. But the question really with Yoshihide Suga is how many islands are we talking about? So as we know, in 1956, there was a joint Soviet-Japanese declaration which talked about the return of 2 islands at least. And then in 1993, after the fall of the Soviet Union and when the state capacity of Russia was quite constrained by the economic impact of things, President Yeltsin was in power and he was quite ready to settle the dispute, and all 4 islands were on the cards with the 1993 Tokyo Declaration. So Prime Minister Abe was basing most of his effort on the 1956 declaration. But the only departure from Prime Minister Abe's policy now under Suga has been that the focus is no longer on the return of 2 islands, but all 4. And the main tool of persuasion is still the same as Prime Minister Abe's, that is economic cooperation. But there's another thing about the North Sea route, which has recently come to light in the past few days, that they are now considering that the logistics, and these are the words of the Japanese ambassador to the Russian Federation, that the logistics of the North Sea route are 40% more efficient compared to traditional shipping routes. So he's talking about how currently cargo from Japan to Moscow and then to Europe is delivered mainly along the Southern Sea route through the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. So that takes anywhere from 57 to 62 days. So now the Northern Sea Route is going to cut that short significantly. And using the Trans-Siberian Railway in conjunction, this has the potential to reduce the total time of shipping in this region to about 20 to 27 days.